All right, here's the Berlin Wall. To me, this is one of the most interesting aspects to the museum. I saw this in person in Berlin when I was there a few years ago with my dad. So there's a plaque on the back of this thing, and there's about 95 miles of this going around East Berlin. So after the wall came down in '89, in the fall of '89, they have these segments all around the world. So here's one here. I think there's two at one of the presidential libraries. I think it's the Reagan Library. Then they have some across the street from LACMA on Wilshire and east of Fairfax. So this was the West Berlin side. And so artists could paint colorful stuff on the West Berlin side. So you can see this. This is the East Berlin side over here. So I'm interested in the structure of this thing. So they built this, they didn't build it in place. They built it, what's called prefabricated. So you can see here, this is the west, the free side, the West Berlin side, and we just saw it on that side. So it was a whole system, it just wasn't a wall. So it was a wall, this had a cap on it like that. So it's missing the cap. You can see the color is a little different, so it's missing the cap. Then they had a zone here that was clear, it was guarded. Then there was a fence, and then there was another smaller wall on the East Berlin side. So this was guarded and lit at night, so if you tried to cross it, you'd probably be shot and killed. Then this is the this thing said this is the 1975 version, because they put up the wall in '61 and it went clear to '89. But the first wall they put up was kind of just like hodgepodge, just willy-nilly with bricks and fences and things. So this was I think the final iteration. So this is very well made. Look, this is called rebar, reinforcing bar. This is cement. And I think they had a couple of hooks here. Here's a hook, and here's a hook. So I think they put it on a truck, and maybe they had a crane, so they could put it in. So this is quite a undertaking. I mean, engineering-wise. And so this is what interests me, is the engineering aspect of it. So you can see here that a lot of people tried to cross this thing, and I think there were 200 people, let me see, approximately 200 people would be killed attempting to cross. And there's a museum in Berlin called the Berlin Wall Museum. So they have a segment that's intact. Of this side and this side, it's intact. And so that's very interesting. Then they have a museum called the Checkpoint Charlie Museum, about all the ways people escaped. Some people were successful. Hang glider, hiding in a car, things like that. So this tells about this design. They call this an L shape. And if you look, I mean, this is kind of interesting. It's reinforced. It's just not like that. It has a reinforcing here, and if you look at the other side, you look at this in section, how it flares out at 45 degrees, and then you see that this was a channel. So maybe this one of them, maybe it fit in like that, I'm guessing, like Legos maybe. So anyway, this is one example, one section of a system that was 90, I think they said 95 miles around. Let me see here. Somewhere, segment shown here is original 2.6 segment, blah, blah, blah. And I think somewhere it says here that it's more than 90 miles around. So the barrier was from 61 to 89, but this was the 1975 version. So this is kind of cool. And then I had a friend, the brother was in Berlin in 1989 when this thing happened. And so the little brother, everybody came out and people got a little hammer down and they hammered pieces of the wall for souvenirs. And so he has all these pieces of the wall as a souvenir. But the thing was that the wall was damaged. So that there's a lot of segments of the wall that are damaged. And I'm not sure if this damage here, I'm not sure if this was damaged. I'm not sure why that was damaged. But anyway, a lot of people chipped it out, so it's all hollowed out. And you see these rebar and things. But this is a good example. I like the fact that it's pretty pristine. That's a good word for you. Pristine means it's like a perfect example. Pristine. This is pretty pristine. And then one last thing, the ones that are near LACMA on Wilshire, I don't like them so much because an artist in the past 10 years painted on them. So it's not the original artwork that was on here when the wall came down in '89. So I don't like that so much because the artists are contemporary, current artists using this as a canvas, but I like a pristine version of how it was when the photo was taken. And that's it.
Thank
Now
you.
we saw the Berlin Wall.